Thank you, everyone. I'm Whitney Anderson.
And I'm Samantha Phoenix.
And this is
Calm Radio. Today we are getting together for the live episode, which is episode number 1 on Focus of Cosmic Law for the Law of Forgiveness.
Tell me a little bit about the Law of Forgiveness, Samantha.
So basically what the Law of Forgiveness is telling us is that it is the law which permeates the principle of divine feminine and masculine as they exist within duality. And it nullifies the structures of self-harm, creating alignment with universal law, and magnifies the impact of grace and love throughout all dimensions. Now, obviously, when we think of forgiveness, we think of like forgiving other people, going through different phases of forgiving ourselves. But in this consciousness of forgiveness, it's actually talking about that release of not holding those grudges and those things against other people and ourselves. So that the geometries, it literally says the act of forgiveness in its highest form accepts responsibility for all it experiences, transforming the geometries, talking about sacred geometries, of guilt, fear, anger, and bitterness into the geometries of love, grace, and mercy.
Well, I know one thing. When you truly learn to forgive yourself, it's life-changing. It's one of the best things in the world you could ever achieve. To me, and I still struggle with this every day, and I'm not going to say that I'm perfect at it, but I work with it, and I strive to do my best, and I expect the best out of myself, and I also am no longer beating myself up over things that, what am I going to do? Go back and change it? You can't change anything. So
exactly.
I'm no longer going to beat myself up about anything. I'm just going to, from this point forward, I'm going to expect the best.
Exactly. And honestly, that's all we can really do. Past is past, and your past is not your future. You can continue to choose to do the same things, or you can choose to make a choice to do something new. And that's ultimately where we all are anytime we're faced with these different things. And we tend to be hardest on ourselves and to be very judgmental of ourselves, especially when we feel like we're not choosing to do the right thing, yet we're doing whatever we're doing anyway. So if you're going to do it anyway, whatever you do it from that state of joy and alignment with your higher self. If you're not doing something from that state of joy and alignment, then that's where things are going wrong. It's really not about what you're doing. It's about how you're feeling.
That's exactly right. That's a huge point, Samantha.
And in forgiving yourself, you can forgive yourself for a lot of things you don't even realize you're holding against yourself until it starts coming up. Like, I used to really get down on myself for different things that I've come to realize weren't even my fault. They were just a lie that I allowed to make me feel bad about myself. So I was like, okay, well then I can let that go. And then I would start feeling really bad about being so abusive to myself for so long. I spent over 40 years being extremely abusive to myself. I wouldn't allow other relationships to be abusive in that way, but I was absolutely terrible to myself. And that's where the greatest forgiveness comes in. When you can look at those things and instead of beating yourself up and condemning yourself that much more for those experiences, you start to appreciate the experience for what it was, for how it molded you, for the experiences you had within those things. Even if they were the rough experiences or the experiences that were in contrast to what you truly want.
And sometimes we seem to be our own worst enemy. We will actually beat ourselves up for things that we did 10 years ago.
99.9% of the time we are our own worst enemy.
Exactly. Other people have forgotten all about everything, and yet we will continue to allow that anxiety into our lives for years.
So many times those other people they don't even know it was a focus. You can be holding these grudges against people and be so upset and so consumed with all of this hate and just.
And they've either let it go, forgotten about it,
or never gave it that much energy in the first place.
It was never important to them.
Exactly. So something that you have literally built your entire life around being or not being because of this person. And this person is completely oblivious to the fact that they even affected you.
Exactly.
Mostly because they're probably completely oblivious to themselves.
That's exactly. Or either they're self-absorbed and oblivious to everyone except themselves.
Well, most people who are self-absorbed are oblivious to themselves and others. That's really the truth. It's almost like they hide within themselves by their denial. You just can't be. There's a difference between being within the self and being self-absorbed. And it is a fine line, but in that, yeah, it's where you can't see your own ass past your face anymore.
Well, they are out there.
And those are the times that create the need for forgiveness of the self most often.
That's right.
When we feel like we've lost ourselves, all we have to do is say it's okay to accept ourselves in our own perfection. You know, everything we see as flawed is just another part of our own perfection.
Right. Because the other people are having a totally different experience, and to allow someone else's experience to interfere with one's own experience, I mean, you're just robbing yourself if you allow that to happen. But when you learn not to experience that and you learn to forgive, life just seems to get and stay so much better at all times in every aspect of life as well.
Absolutely.
Every single aspect you have in your life will get better.
And there again, it's because you maintain a vibration that continues to go in a positive direction. You know, it doesn't mean that everything you see in your forefront is exactly the way you want it to be. It means that you accept the beauty in all that it is as it's becoming, and knowing that it already is what you want it to be in that aspect of things. So even if it's just being able to see the potential, see that potential as being what it already is. And forgiveness is one of the greatest catapults to that, because we put so many blockages in our way from allowing ourselves to do and be easily. We feel like we have to struggle for it, or we have to work hard for it, or nothing comes easy, and that's all bullshit.
Everything comes easy
as long as you allow the flow and ease. It does come easy. So forgiving ourselves of those things that we've put in our way is 90% of really removing a blockage. It's not about other people as much as it is about ourselves. And what we really ultimately, at least for myself, when it comes down to figuring out what I really have to forgive, I always seem to be forgiving myself for allowing something to happen for as long as I allow it to happen, for allowing myself to ignore the things that told me this is exactly what's coming, and then for allowing myself to perpetuate those things that I knew were coming by knowing they were coming and focusing on those things instead of focusing on the potential. You see what I'm saying? So all of that creates that cloud of self degradation.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. I mean, and it goes back to what I was saying. Without the ability to forgive yourself, truly forgive yourself, and have that cleansing, that's when things will begin to manifest in a positive nature for your entire life, for every aspect of your life, anyway. So, I mean, you've just got to learn to forgive. You learn to forgive, you'll learn to live.
Exactly. And the biggest thing is forgiving yourself. Once you can forgive yourself, then all of the other people that you've been holding grudges against, they tend to just fall away anyway. Those things just don't affect you the same. But if you have things that are constantly poking and prodding you from your past, then
no matter what it is, what it is, you have got to forgive yourself. And from this day forward, if you're going to be here on this planet, do the positive things. Forgive yourself, let it go, and do the right thing now. That's all you can do.
Well, the right thing is letting go of anything that evolves through guilt and fear and anything that doesn't feel good. If you think about it and it doesn't feel good, then it's time to change the way you look at that. It's time to change the perception, to forgive yourself for allowing a perception that wasn't in alignment with what your higher source
I couldn't have said that better. That's I love the way you phrase that.
Well, thank you, Whitney. And you know, Whitney, it looks like we are getting close to closing. We're trying to get a little better about paying attention instead of running, and we can talk forever. And pretty soon, we'll be talking for a total of 45 minutes. So please make sure you follow us here on the Spreaker channels and add to our following listeners. We would love to have you join us there. We also have a Patreon account that will help support Calm Radio and the many different events and other things that we want to support along the way. We want to give a huge thank you to In New Light Video Magazine for all of their support, to the Escape Artists Travel Consultants, and to the Mystics Mall at Keller's Flea Market in Savannah, Georgia.
And I'm Whitney Anderson.
I am Samantha Phoenix.
And we will see you soon.
We're Calm Radio. And don't forget to listen to part 1 of our series on the consciousness of forgiveness. We do have the music inspired by the consciousness of forgiveness, along with the full meaning based out of the documentation of the cosmic laws. So if you want to know more about that, please listen in. Make sure you tune in to our other shows and hear a little more about what Whitney and I have to say.
Please follow us. You'll love us. I know you will. And you'll enjoy every show that we do.
You can follow us on Facebook at Cosmically Aware Alliance of Luminous Messengers, or do a search for CAALM.